Very warm welcome to another edition of MMA live webinar. Thank you. The live webinar, what we have been doing it since the time lockdown happened last month, has been very popular. Besides live webinar, we are our endeavor is to keep our members, alive and active all through. You all know that we are starting our activities right from morning.
Captain, sir, you unmuted. Okay. Now okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Again, I think somebody has unmuted me. There's central control happens quite a bit. When central controls, we all get helpless. Let me start again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome to each one of you for our evening edition of the live webinar, which we started since the time the lockdown happened due to coronavirus. And it's been very popular with our members. Our endeavor is to keep our members engaged during the difficult times from morning till evening, so that you don't get to watch the television, a lot of news, and that doesn't impact you. So what we have been doing is every morning we start at 7:30 in the morning with a live yoga practice. With this we do in collaboration with Sri Ravi Shankar Shah thing. Then thereafter we have a live quiz every day, and we have a large number of participants participate in the morning. This to continue your thought process, and at the end of the session we'll pick up top 5 quizzes who have been consistently doing well in the quiz of last 25-30 days. Then thereafter, we have at 11 o'clock every morning the talk by eminent people on different subjects. Thereafter, then in the afternoon, we have from 2 o'clock till about 4:35, we have a number of workshops, certificate courses, training courses we do. Again, evening 6 o'clock, we have a talk, which one you're going to have it short while from now. Thereafter, we also have in the afternoons, we share with them important articles of MMA for a reading pleasure. Then we also share with our members business puzzle. Then we also number of programs which we offer complimentary to members, which you can log in and do it at your own time. So idea is to keep our members intellectually very, very enriching and active. That's our endeavor. Now, just to tell you, we already sent you the mail for number of events, what's happening. Like tomorrow at 6 p.m., current economic crisis, the way forward. Arun Kumar, you all know Arun Kumar is from one of the most economists from JNU. Is a thought leader who writes regular articles about the crisis. And we also have on the 22nd April, we have a former revenue secretary will be talking to us on post-COVID. This is on 22nd April at 6 p.m. A post-COVID idea, 3+5, suitable for building companies and institutions. Again, Gopal Krishnan, former executive director of Tata Sons, will be talking to us. On 23rd April, 11 a.m., again, interesting thing not to be missed even by each one of you. Someone success mantra for Instagram by Dania Balasubramaniam. She's going to be talking to us from the USA. And Dania is one of the authority on Instagram. She got over 80,000-90,000 followers, and she specializes in Instagram in fashion designing and much more. So you'll learn a lot how to take your business through the medium of Instagram. On 23rd April, again, we have COVID lessons learned from for the future. Again, we have a former revenue secretary, Mr. Shivaraman, Indian Revenue Service Officer, he will be talking to us. On 22nd April at 6 p.m., dealing with the known and unknown COVID, again, Dr. Mridula Ramesh, who is a director of TV Sons and textiles, will be talking to us. And she also specializes on environmental issues. It'll be interesting talk. 25th April, we have a talk on Be a Diamond in the Sky by one of the authority on branding. He's going to be talking to us. That Mr. Vijay Parsid is happening on 25th of April at 6 p.m. Then we also want to bring the cross-section of activity, like cyber, the data on the move, cyber security and its implications, how you handle them. We have a very good panel discussion. Expert will be talking to us on this. Then we also having in 28th, Shame Ghazal, we have musical evening management and music by G.D. Sharma with a couple of people. We want to have some fun too in our talks, so we are doing this on the 28th. Then on the 30th, we have a Swamiji from Rajkot. He'll be talking to on stress management, mind management. He's from Swami Vivekananda Math, one of the authority and a great speaker, well-respected Swamiji from Ramakrishna Mission, Rajkot. Then on the 2nd, we have Bharat Bala, who has done some phenomenal films on national issues. He'll be joining along with Aishwarya Manivannan. Aishwarya Manivannan, who is a world Silambam champion, and Bharat Bala has made a film on world Silambam, and they will be talking this kind. So we lined up. This is only a few. We already share the schedule with you. Please keep joining. If you are missed by any chance, not able to join the allotted time, these events are available on our website for next 1 year. So you can log in and watch. That's the idea. Is each one of you, we wanted you to enjoy the programs. And Shankar, Swamiji is online. Shankar?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Swamiji is online, sir.
I'm not able to see his video.
Just a second, sir.
We have to take him on screen, no?
One second, sir. Swamiji, you unmute your.
Hello.
Yes.
Swamiji? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I want you to know I'm going to be talking about this event today. I want you to be on screen because you are the speaker for this evening. Very warm welcome to you, Swamiji. And the subject what is chosen by Swamiji is very, very relevant today. And EQ and SQ, and which we all quite familiar of emotional quotient, we do quite a bit. But spiritual quotient, not I know how many of you think. And the theme what Swamiji chose is the fuel held through the hard times, because we all like to understand this spiritual quotient, emotional quotient these times. And we all look at the longer picture and how the emotional intelligence is going to work and how assertivity is going to do, and better than Swamiji on this very, very important subject. Because I don't want to know, you can the format of the talk is after I introduce Swamiji, he'll talk to you for about 40 minutes. The privilege of Swamiji, introduce him. Swamiji's introduction, it's a great honor and privilege to introduce such an outstanding leader in our perspective. And Swamiji is a well-known speaker, worldwide known, and he promotes spirituality and human values. For over 3 decades, he's been in this space. And I know in terms of his educational thing, he's a gold medalist from IT and a number of other qualifications. When he was doing his MTech IT, he got into this mode and it took pursue the thing. Many of us get into that, but many of us don't really pursue what we really don't do it later. Then he also became a senior disciple of Swami Chidananda, and I know if anybody who stays with Chidananda would be a great learner, because the Swami Chidananda's missions and what they have done. He was with him for quite some time, and also inspired Swami Ramana Maharishi. I know most of you know Swami Ramana Maharishi. Reading Swami Ramana Maharishi is so inspiring, and he's also got inspired, no wonder inspired. And he's also part of the KFI, Krishnamurti Foundation, which are doing some yeoman service in the field of education. He's one of the trustees who do a lot of work, Krishnamurti Foundation, for the social cause. And he travels widely all over the world, deliver lectures all over the world, mainly focused on India and USA. And in the year 2015, most important event, where he was been invited at Vatican to deliver the lecture on Hinduism, and which was at Rome, which he really impressed upon the large number of people what Hinduism means. And he had the privilege of meeting then Pope Francis. So we have one of the outstanding speakers this evening with us, who is going to be sharing on the theme which is relevant today, EQ and SQ, the fuel to sail through the hard times. Over to you, Swamiji. We are all looking forward eagerly to hearing you. So at the end of the session, the questions will be there. If you have a chat box, you please do. All the participants again welcome to you. You can welcome the Swamiji by saying, Swamiji, welcome and pranam. Thank you. Now I'll hand it over to Swamiji.
Okay.
Swamiji, welcome and pranam.
Namaste. Namaste, everybody. Hope I'm clear.
You can type in the chat
Everyone is
box.
able to see me and hear me well. What happened to my share screen?
Namaste, Swamiji.
Here it is.
Yeah, I request all the audience you can greet him through your chat box, so that at the end of that 45 minutes you can have interactive section. At the moment, I want Swami to focus because a lot of technology is to be handled here. So I request upon each one of you to hold on for some time till the Swamiji comes with the screen and talks on the thing. Once you get used to it, you can really wish it. I hope you understand. Really appreciate your understanding. Thank you so much for your understanding. Shankar, you might have to prompt Swamiji to share screen, bring him on the.
Swamiji is unmuted. Swamiji.
Swamiji, mute.
Swamiji?
Calling?
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's okay. Now share screen.
It is not muted. It's unmuted. Okay, now I share screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody should mute, then only we can hear properly.
Shankar, you please unmute.
Yeah, everyone.
Everybody. Mute
Yeah,
everybody, please.
everyone, sir.
Yeah, it's been done. Yes, you got it. Yes, Swami, you can go ahead. Perfect.
Now it should be all right. Namaste again. Good work. I myself know every day they are presenting speaks with a wide topics. I begin with congratulating them and appreciation to Vijay Kumar putting together all these things. So I have a very fascinating topic with me this evening here in India, and I myself am a long-time learner in this field. So I'm not going to spend any time on IQ. I'm straight away going to EQ and SQ. IQ is, as you know, a good old thing. And one point I would like to quickly say, EQ and SQ are not about replacing IQ, rather they are building further on IQ. It is on the plain recognition that IQ alone cannot take us very far. So IQ further enriched by EQ, and then on the pinnacle of it all, going to SQ can make our life truly fruitful, truly meaningful. So as this first slide itself shows, it has been found out by scientists that IQ is, if not fully, largely something to do with the left brain. EQ is about the right brain, and then there comes SQ, spiritual quotient, and that is about the whole brain. It's everywhere and it's hard to find exactly where it is. So that is the mystic side of spiritual quotient. Now we plunge into emotional intelligence to begin with. And again, I must quickly clarify, sometimes at various places where I had the chance to be on the interview panel, I or a colleague of mine would ask a candidate, what is emotional intelligence? And the candidate would be so ignorant. He or she would say, those who are very emotional have higher EQ. Of course, every one of you knows that is such a wrong definition. Emotional intelligence is not about being very emotional. It is about, as this slide shows, understanding emotions, sensing emotions. It's about, as Daniel Goleman, the pioneer author in this field, said, it's about effectively applying the power in you and I may have power, but we are unable to and channel the acumen of the emotion. So Goleman put it so nicely in 3 bullets I have expressed here. He actually gives a long definition in his pioneering book, and that long paragraph I split into 3. Emotions as a source of human energy, as information, as a source of connection and influence. Now, without delaying it, I want to make a remark about how this particular topic is very relevant for the present crisis caused by COVID-19. the whole world is almost hijacked by this virus, and everyone among us, to lesser or greater extent, is concerned about what's going on and what will happen at the end of another month. How long in the context of these, the challenge. Therefore, is all the more relevant, and you and I need to, we are hearing another voice here in Tamil. So I will time and again point out how even particular components of this EI are relevant to doing our best in the
Sorry to interfere, Swamiji. Would you like to check your net? Actually, your
I already have the name of Neil Goldman. As way back as
Swamiji, are you able to hear me?
Is that so? Yeah, I'm hearing you very well.
Swamiji, your audio is not clear. It's possible to change the network, Swamiji. Your audio is very poor.
Yeah, my net is
full of breaking. Captain sir, you are muted.
Now it's okay?
Yeah, yes sir.
Swamiji, like yesterday when we did the trial, would you like to use the other source than your mobile, not from the mobile thing, other one? Because your audio was very clear yesterday. Now it's, not very clear. Would you like to try it out again?
Actually, I had used the other source, then I went over to the iPhone. Yeah. Am I better now? I changed. I have two sources.
Yes, please.
Am I audible?
Yes,
yes,
sir.
little better, much better.
Okay.
Thank you, Swamiji. Sorry for
the difference is, yesterday was a sunny day here, and today it's a rainy day. It's raining outside, just behind the window here.
Now it's raining. Swamiji. Sorry. Now you please go ahead.
May I go ahead?
Yes, Swamiji. Perfect now.
All right. Sorry about this technology issue. So, as way back as in 1995, this Daniel Goleman, who was a science journalist who especially wrote a column in New York Times, he went on writing article after article about the emotional behavior in a number of real-life case studies. And all that emerged into this path-breaking book, Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. So, we have Goleman, and then afterwards, a plethora of books came out, large number of writers, and I don't know how many PhDs and other degrees have been taken by people in universities around the world, and how much of it is used in corporate world. It's all quite huge now. So the aspects of emotional intelligence, as all of us know, are broadly speaking simply two. Know your emotions, know others' emotions. Now one may wonder, don't we know our emotions? And the plain answer is, we don't. A number of times we just don't know what is happening within us. We just get drawn to something or somebody, or we get very repelled by somebody or something. All we know is, I don't want to go there. And all we know is, I want to go here. Now, is it desire? Is it ambition? Is it fear? And what actually is happening? So there is a lot of structure a lot of details in the emotions that you and I experience. Therefore, when it is said knowing our emotions, managing our emotions, and motivating ourselves, don't take any of these three for granted. Each of them is quite a vast field. One day I might feel I am jealous. Next day I feel it's not jealousy, I'm feeling insecure. And third day I may again feel it is a form of loneliness. So what is it? What is going on in me, in us, is the question. Therefore, understanding and managing our emotions. And so is the case with understanding others. You see, somebody's face is not normal. He or she is disturbed. But what is the nature of his disturbance? What has made her so unhappy? To know exactly is not easy. Therefore, it is called a higher form of intelligence. Obviously, the fifth bullet, in line with the very, very preliminary work done by Goldman and others, is about handling relationships. Now, a number of members of MMA, now today there are so many others from other walks of life too, but MMA members, I guess, are mostly in the corporate world, running industries, working for various industries. But today, as COVID-19 stares us in the face, our challenges are way beyond the corporate world. As a society, as a country, in fact, as a global community, what it is we must do, what it is we must avoid, and how we plan for future. This COVID-19 crisis is likely to change a number of equations in the whole world and in a small, within a village also. And in the light of it all, the greater the emotional intelligence we have, wiser will be our decisions. This can be said without blinking an eyelid. So here, let me go to what is called EQ. Everybody knows, but just to make some fundamentals doubly clear, emotional intelligence calibrated and then measured becomes EQ. So first, they decide by various instruments, by various questionnaires, various psychological methods, what is the average emotional intelligence, and make it 100. To that person who has average EI, we give 100 as the EQ. Then those who are below, those who are above, accordingly get EQ 80, EQ 70, EQ 90, all are less than average. 110, 130, 140 average. So calibration is fixing that 100 for the average person, and then quotient is against that standard where we actually stand. As this slide 5 shows, enhanced emotional intelligence, broadly speaking, helps us in two areas. Those two areas are no other than personally and in relationships. Personally, whatever we do, we can do more effectively. Our days go better. Whether the society notices or not, we know that we have lived the day with greater effectiveness. And then we lead our teams also better. Thus, we have the benefits of emotional intelligence, and authors, researchers, professors, and other scientists have identified a number of factors that contribute to emotional intelligence. EQ is not the result of just one or two aspects of our personality. So therefore, in that context, I recommend a book which I have read long back, and even now I keep referring to it. The clarity and the crispness of these two authors, Stein and Book, both professors in Canada, are amazing. They have in this book identified 15 components. From them, I chose 5: emotional self-awareness, impulse control, assertiveness, empathy, and stress tolerance. And this webinar, I'm going to briefly touch on the first 3 only, for I need to then go into a little bit of SQ, or spiritual quotient. So all these, just as a bright student in a school, is declared or described as bright for his or her performance in science, in maths, in history, in languages, in extracurricular activities, in several areas. If that girl, if that boy is performing very well, an aggregate and all together makes that person fit to be called a bright student. Likewise, you and I, suppose, are good in several areas where emotions come into the picture. Others' emotions, our emotions, and so on. Components come into the picture. So I take up now straight away emotional self-awareness. If we are aware of our emotions, and many times we are not, it can make a big difference. There's an old story in one of the Sanskrit plays where, it's the Indian version of Rustum and Sohrab sort of story with some differences. A king comes back to his kingdom after some 16 years. He had gone out and won war to take him to another war and so on. And at midnight, he re-enters his palace after 16 years. And to make the long story short, the king sees his wife, the queen, with a man in the bedroom. And he takes out his sword and he is about to kill that young man and maybe the queen also out of anger. But in that beautiful story narrated by Bharavi in one of the Sanskrit classics, as he raises the sword, he sees on the wall of the bedroom a Sanskrit couplet. And one of the lines of that verse goes, Sahasa vidadhita na kriyam avivekaha paramapadam padam. Nothing should be done hurriedly. Such indiscrimination can lead to greatest sorrow later. Now that line on the wall awakens in him a certain awareness. Hey, what am I doing? I'm falling for anger without checking what actually is going on. So with sword raised up in the air, rather than bringing it down, he shouts at the queen and the young fellow, who are you here? And then, as you would have guessed, the queen says to the young man, oh, your father has come after 16 years to touch his feet. That young, well-built boy was the king's own son. Then he remembers, yes, my queen was pregnant when I left for the first war, and then went on and on. Stein and Book, the two authors of the work which I recommended, present for us an ABCD chart. Consequence, tremendous anger has risen in the king in the story I narrated. But as he becomes aware, emotional self-awareness, it's not awareness of something else, awareness of one's own emotion. Here is this anger. How did this arise? Oh, this got activated, A for activation. And why did it get activated? Such tremendous anger. Because I believe, I believe it is most sinful for a queen to be with somebody on the bed other than her own husband. My belief makes me very angry. Have you concluded without thinking much? As one examines one's beliefs, D for diffuse, one is able to diffuse the belief. The belief that something sinful is going on here. Something utterly unacceptable is going on. That was the belief too. Belief in a certain value, then belief in a certain assessment of the situation. And there you go. Out of this enhanced awareness of the emotion, of what caused those emotions, etc., the undesirable emotion ends and one regains one's balance. So from time immemorial, from those stories narrated by Bharavi or Bhasa, Kalidasa or Shakespeare in the West, human beings have been struggling with emotions which direct them in direction A or in direction B. One could be right, another could be disastrous. Therefore, emotional self-awareness. Secondly, every one of us is under tremendous pressure sometimes from various impulses. Let me tell you, impulses are of two kinds. First of all, what is an impulse? A certain urge that arises in us which we ourselves had not expected, not pre-planned, not premeditated, not with some kind of design. No, we are somewhere and our eyes see something or we hear something, and even contrary to what we had expected, what we would have imagined, we get going in a certain direction. Sometimes highly educated, highly respected members of the society do things which are very terrible, and later they confess, I didn't know what went through me. I just did that. Two kinds of impulses. One is to destroy something, to yell at somebody, to beat somebody, to do something violent. Another is to settle for enjoyment, pleasure. So, attraction to what may give us pleasure and violence with what provokes us, what irritates us. Both are impulses. So in texts like Bhagavad Gita, repeatedly we are told about raga and dvesha. Raga is attraction, dvesha is repulsion. So you and I can train ourselves not to act out of impulse, to hold back. In fact, that is where many years ago there was a bestseller by a professor in Chicago, Scott Peck. The book was titled The Road Less Traveled. And in the initial pages themselves, he says, if you study successful people around the world, vast majority among them have one quality in them. They are able to hold back. They delay gratification. Suppose it is the pleasure context. You eat a sweet, you get gratified. Nobody says don't eat at all, but can you delay it? Can you put duty before pleasure? If you have that ability, you have great impulse control. Friends, connecting once more with the corona situation, in these times where the economy is terribly damaged, human relationships, even relationship between some countries are undergoing a lot of strain, impulses arise in us. We have impulses. Wrongly, we may take an unsuitable or unworthy person as our friend, and wrongly, we may get so angry with somebody who really is innocent. So, anger or violence in certain directions, not good, and undue attachment and unduly getting very close and making contracts with people, with countries, etc. Both would be dangerous. Therefore, to go cautiously, carefully, and make wise decisions. Impulse control is of tremendous value. The third and last among the three components that I am touching upon in this context of EQ, emotional quotient, is assertiveness. I must at this point say to you that what made many researchers come to the conclusion that IQ is not adequate. People with high IQ might fail to reach the top in organizations and other contexts. People with little less IQ but well supported by a rich EQ make it to the top. There are sometimes people who just have a simple degree running a whole organization where many PhDs are working for them. Now, what is the problem then with all these bright people who are maybe gold medal winners and so on in their colleges? Why did they not reach the top? I mean, they are doing fairly well, but they don't go to the top. So that is because of inadequate emotional intelligence, and one of them could be lack of assertiveness. Assertiveness has been rightly described as the midpoint between passiveness and aggressiveness. Some people, for the smallest thing, get so aggressive and generate so much of unpleasantness in the surroundings. And then there are others who are always looking left and right. They don't speak up. So the two diagrams shown in this slide indicate it in two different ways. First one on top shows assertiveness is the healthy midpoint between being aggressive and being passive. The second chart or the diagram below shows when we are so selfish and so caught up with our own needs, we tend to become aggressive. And when we are always thinking of others, what will he say, what will she feel, and we suppress our emotions, we become passive. Rather, in neither getting overwhelmed with the thoughts of others' needs or others' opinion and so on, nor getting so obsessed with our own selfish desires, if we can tread the middle path, that is called assertiveness. So the second diagram shows the intersection. In fact, a whole lot of people who contribute significantly to organizations, to families to begin with, leading a family, being the head of a family, or even an effective member of a family, ensuring that the family as a unit would not take wrong steps. All that would be possible by right assertiveness. As the third bullet shows here, expressing bravely, in time, not delaying, and standing up for one's own rights. I have been a teacher of Vedanta, Upanishads for long. I have been very drawn to it as Group Captain Vijay Kumar introduced me also, right in the early 80s when I was in Madras, Chennai. I was drawn to Swami Chidananda. In the Upanishads, we have some radiant examples of people being assertive, not looking left or right. And one of the very shining examples is no other than that great Rishi Yajnavalkya in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I will not make it very long. In one of the stories in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad of Yajurveda, you have King Janaka placing 1,000 cows with gold coins or some gold upon their horns, and King Janaka announces to a large assembly of Vedic scholars, among whom Yajnavalkya also was present. King Janaka says, whoever among you knows the supreme truth, Brahman, most precisely, may take these 1,000 cows with gold upon their horns And there were many Vedic scholars over there who thought of themselves as highly knowledgeable, but they were looking left, looking right. They had their complexes. Part of their mind was saying, go ahead, who else knows as much as you do? And other part, will they not think of it as shameless behavior? Looking left. Yajnavalkya, very pure soul, does not have any such complex. He tells his student, please carry these 1,000 cows to our Gurukula. All the other scholars get angry. One of them questions Yajnavalkya. What Yajnavalkya? You think you are Brahmavittama, the best among knowers of Brahman? And there is a humorous answer. Yajnavalkya says, let us go into that question later. All I can tell you at this moment is, I need these 1,000 cows. They will be of great help. They will be of great help to my Gurukula. Now, combining wit and humor with assertiveness, our Rishi Yajnavalkya asks for those 1,000 cows. And then, of course, what follows is history, as we put it. Number of questions are posed to him by all the scholars, including a lady called Gargi, who puts some questions to him, and very ably he answers them all and handles challenging scenarios, finally emerges victorious. So friends, to allow for some question answer also, I will now get a little bit into spiritual quotient. As Sri Vijay Kumar also said, people do not know much about SQ. EQ has been around for a long time. I must at this point admit that I too am not an expert on SQ, but I can share a few basics of SQ. Spiritual intelligence, whether it is IQ, EQ, or SQ, all of them going by calibration are 100 for an average person. An average person or a person with average spiritual intelligence will have SQ of 100. And higher the spiritual intelligence, 120, 130, and so on, what does it make a person? Dana Johar, about whom I will mention something in the next slide, she makes it very clear right in the beginning of her path-breaking book. Spiritual quotient is not about religion. If our SQ is higher, it doesn't mean we will be sitting more for puja, going to temples or mosques, churches or gurudwaras more and so on. No, that is a different side of it. Essentially, SQ is not about religion. Then what is it about? It is about a certain part of the brain. This is how the scientists look at it. In spirituality, in Vedanta, we have some different model. We talk about something above the brain that perhaps can come up in question and answer. But as per these famous authors, it is about the activity of a certain part of the brain. Dana Johar, professor, she talks even about particular waves, 40 cycles per second waves. She has some discovery. And that connects us above all to our purpose of life. What are we here for? You know, I am fond of saying in spirituality, the highest question is, who am I? Who am I? Vedanta especially touches upon how we are not this ego, but we are something called the soul, this pure self, etc. Leave it aside. One notch below this great question, who am I? There is the question, what am I here for? How do I spend my days, my weeks, my months and years? Are they in alignment with a certain purpose for which I have been brought here?
Papa.
And as the third bullet goes, it is about that part of the brain that connects to the purpose. How? Through hoping. Being discontent with mechanical way of living. Being even discontent with honors that may come towards us. Discontent with the gold medals and trophies or whatever other recognition. Being discontent with it all, if we hope for something deeper, if we dream about something more lasting, if we visualize a more meaningful life, that is the sign of awakening of spiritual intelligence. SQ then is surely higher. So, just as Daniel Goleman wrote a book in 95, around 99 or so, this book came out, SQ, Spiritual Intelligence, the Ultimate Intelligence, by two authors, the main one among them being a lady, Dana Zohar. She, along with Ian Marshall, brought out this book, and in that again, in the introduction itself, the authors say, this is about fundamental questions. It's about not superficial questions. It's not about benefits that come to us for 20 years, for 50 years, or even century. Individually and for humanity as a whole, something that is even more long-lasting. That is how, no wonder, in India, we have regarded the Upanishads as a source of highest spiritual intelligence. So we have in one of the Upanishads, namely Brihadaranyaka, again, the same sage Yajnavalkya, he distributes all his property to his two wives and is about to leave for the forests or maybe for the Himalayas, we don't know. And the older one, Maitreyi, asks him, hold on, wait a minute, my dear husband. You are leaving and you say to us, all this property is ours. See, when he was active as a householder, would attend conferences, would attend seminars. If he were here at this time, he would have given so many webinars to all of us. Sage Yajnavalkya had given to them a lot of wealth as he is about to leave house. Maitreyi asks one question. Does all this property impress you indeed that you are leaving to us, make me immortal? What a strange question. Does it make me Amrita? Amrita Syam Kim. Will I become immortal? Now, this may look too philosophical a question. So to make it a bit simpler, what is meant is, it's not about physical death, but it is a sense of everything being perishable. We buy a new car, or we expand our business to 10 times what it was when we received it from maybe our father. So we achieve a lot of things. We get awards. But after a little while, what at one point of time gave me so much happiness and satisfaction does not make me happy the same way. That is called mortal. Lot of very successful people towards another period of their life are not at all at peace. This is a fact. Some are, maybe because they have some EQ and SQ, there are various factors. But a good number of celebrities, eminent people, award holders, and so on, are not happy. So Maitreyi's question to Yajnavalkya has to be looked at in that light. Amrita Syam Kim, will I become immortal? That means, will I, with this wealth, touch upon lasting peace? And Yajnavalkya is so delighted. he sits down and requests her also to sit down. Please sit. This kind of question delights me, he says. A wonderful, loving relationship between a Rishi and Rishi Patni can be found in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And to end up that story, Yajnavalkya says, Na vittena tarpaniyo manushyaha. No human being can ever be truly satisfied with wealth, any amount of wealth. And then there is a discussion. So that's a fundamental question. Please see. So we have an example of a lady in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Maitreyi, with enhanced SQ. Then Dana and Ayan talk about differentiating between good and evil. In yet another Upanishad, Kathopanishad, which perhaps many of you know, it's a very popular treatise from the Yajurveda again. We have a young boy, maybe a 14-year-old, what you may call a teenager, Nachiketa, and he puts aside a lot of things that Lord Yama offers to him. And then he is bent upon knowing that same transcendental truth. And in that Kathopanishad, there are two terms which come down the dialogue, Shreya and Preya. Shreya is good, though uncomfortable sometimes, and Preya is pleasant but evil. Very pleasing but puts us in trouble down the road. Today we know how many billionaires are in bars or are in other countries hiding or keeping away from their own homeland where they would be arrested. So a lot of things appear very pleasing to us at a point of time, inviting lots of trouble. That is evil. Nachiketa, the young boy, is able to differentiate. Therefore, at age 14, he had so much high of SQ. And as the last bullet in this slide shows, Dana and Ayan were very particular that the spiritual intelligence is a transformative intelligence. It's not about going from one level of a scale to a higher level, but it is to put that whole scale as though by the side and walk into a new domain. Transformation is like total change, like metamorphosis, how a crawling worm becomes the butterfly and flies freely in the air. So there are people who have given glowing compliments to this concept of SQ. Before he passed away, that great management guru, Stephen Covey, the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, had said, spiritual intelligence is the source of all intelligence. Whereas there have been other, I guess, some Howard Gardner and some others who were also experts in the field. They were very conservative. They said, the spiritual intelligence is a bit vague. It is difficult to measure. It is difficult to really put our hands on. It's rather better we leave it alone. Let's not talk about SQ at all. For your information, there has been that view also. However, I, for one, with deep involvement in Indian mysticism and being quite open to many other forms of mysticism from schools of wisdom around the world, I, for one, believe that SQ is something very true, something very real. All of us have the potential for spiritual intelligence. I must say at this point that it would not be an exaggeration to say growth in human life, more than in any other form, is growth in intelligence. If In addition to IQ, which also can be, to the extent possible, improved, if we can enhance our EQ and SQ, our life has really progressed. Other progress, is very charming to a third party. Deep inside us, we do not really enjoy the benefits so much. A little bit we do, nothing is a waste. I do not say that anything is wasteful. Wealth is wonderful. Health is great. And various talents to write, to speak, to sing, to do business effectively. So many skills and talents. All of them are valuable. However, if there is one thing that is most valuable and takes us upward and further upward, I would say, that is the growth in intelligence. We have in the Upanishadic lore one more interesting and fascinating episode right at the beginning of Mundaka Upanishad. You have a person called Shaunaka, and he goes to a guru called Angirasa, and Angirasa asks, okay, what is the question that has been bothering you? And Shaunaka, apparently already a great Vedic scholar, all the same says, I am discontent with life. The teacher asks, yes, tell me, what is bothering you? And Shaunaka then asks a question, which is a great classical question of philosophy. Shaunaka's question is, sir, what is that knowing which everything becomes known? Kasminnu bhagavo vidnate sarvamidam vidnatam bhavati. Very strange, very poetic also. So is there something by knowing which there remains nothing to be known? How can that be? In recent times, the great mystic of last century, Krishnamurti, talked of a phrase. First step is the last step, he said. And you and I would wonder, how can there be one step, you take that step and the journey is over. One of his books is titled, The First Step is the Last Step. How can the first step be the last step? In Mundaka Upanishad, you would ask the same question. How can knowing one thing bring to us knowledge of everything? That is where spiritual intelligence comes in. In my last slide of the contents, I would say, in the awakening of spiritual intelligence, we come upon a certain state of consciousness where it's not that we know all subjects. Somebody mistook that issue of Mundaka Upanishad. Somebody who was preparing for examinations, Oh my God, I wish I knew what Shaunaka was asking for. Then I would know physics and chemistry, maths and history, English and biology. I would know all of it by knowing that one thing. It's not at all about knowing all the subjects, but it is about being free from that personal inadequacy. I am not yet there. I haven't reached where I had to. All others have gone ahead. I think I am a failure in life. Oh my, I haven't traveled to Japan yet. I haven't learned any foreign language except English. Of what use is my life? This stupidity of self-evaluation in terms of things which we don't need at all. Why should I go to Japan? Why should I know French or Germany? And if some people know, God bless them. There is nothing wrong with it. But I don't have to be envious. I don't have to envy them. I don't have to feel I am as though, inadequate. Now, if you extend this, if you think about it, there is an ending to all kinds of inadequacy. In Sanskrit, there is a word for inadequacy, apurnata. Purna means full, complete. Apurna, not complete. Lot of wealth and yet feeling, well, I have wealth, but that but is apurnata. So Shaunaka's question was about ending that deep sense of incompleteness. Then what happens, as this last slide shows? Then when there is a certain inner silence, when there is absence of unnecessarily comparing and unnecessarily jumping to a conclusion materially or spiritually. There are some people who always worry, my meditation has not been going on all right. No, that thought is the problem. You are judging yourself that I am not meditating well, and that is the problem. Drop that thought. Don't judge yourself. Then meditation happens. So, when there is an inner silence, that is absence of noise about our own self-worth, then the ability to face suffering, ability to use our suffering and transcend pain comes about. And that is when we are able to, as the third bullet shows, we transcend self-interest. We can never transcend self-interest by amassing a lot of wealth, though we believe so. Years ago, when I was myself about 30-year-old, I was planning to embark full-time into spirituality. A colleague of mine who was a professor at a college, he also took interest, but then he said to me, you go for Vedanta, go ahead with spirituality. I will catch up with you after 10 years. I asked him, what will you do in the 10 years? He said, you know what? Those days, both of us were in Bangalore. That friend of mine said, in a few months, I'm going to the Gulf. I'm going to make a lot of money. And in 10 years, I'll earn enough. Then, with that cushion, with the cushion of enough of wealth, I will also follow Kishan. Kishan, as you know, is Krishna of Bhagavad Gita. First cushion, financial cushion, then I will go for Kishan, he said. Now that's how we imagine. But really speaking, this I, me and my, called self-interest, doesn't end by wealth, by any amount of pleasure. The spiritual quotient puts an end to that self-interest. A certain caring happens when self-interest takes a back seat and sense of service comes to the front seat. Vision and values inspire us. So in this way, friends, we have certain indescribable, mystical potential in us that is SQ, spiritual quotient. So I conclude my words before inviting questions with the ardent, with the passionate hope. May our total intelligence express itself with the holistic flavor and enable us to be instruments of divine will. Our EQ and SQ may be enhanced to help us offer ourselves at the service of all forms of life. Namaste. Your mic is not enabled, I think, Group Captain. Again, it got muted. Now it's on.
Plus alt.
Hello,
Yes.
I'm Dr. Chokkalingam. I'm a cardiologist. And I listened to your talk, really very informative.
May I intervene, please? 1 second, doctor. I want all the people to type their questions because asking questions will become too much. Everybody can, in the chat box, already number of questions have come. Doctor, you have some time, we'll come back to you. Meanwhile, sir, look at the chat box. I will request all of you to put the question. Before that, we move on to the question session. May I all request you to say such a fascinating talk has been given by the channel, and you all give a one comment as awesome, so that before we move on to the question session, so that you can type your questions. Swamiji, in the chat box, the questions have come. We are compiling. We're also getting some questions. We'll go ahead. Come back to you again for your question. You can type your question. That will be better, so that we all finish. Swamiji, you can open the chat box and answer the questions.
Yes, I am ready.
Yes, go ahead, Swamiji.
Where do I see the questions?
The chat box.
Oh, okay. I'm just going there. Oh, okay.
Swamiji, please stop your share screen.
From Mr. Mohan, the question is, Swamiji, question to Swamiji, question to other people. Wrong perception about impact. You would like to see the question? Wrong perception about.
Okay, 1 minute. Okay. Oh, here is the chat. I found the chat.
Yes, yes.
There are 61 questions apparently, or maybe including some
most of
hello
them will
and
be
hi.
chat. All questions will be different. You can.
Okay, which one are we taking now, Group Captain?
The question, Swamiji, there is one person asked a question. Can you give some practical tips for activities to enhance our SQ?
Yeah. I have a simple formula. And in fact, recently, I was surprised to see a very popular and famous author, Robin Sharma, has practically talked of the same principles. You know, my Vedanta master, Swami Chidananda, used to say every one of us is essentially three things: body, mind, and intellect. BMI, not BMW, that expensive car. BMI, body, mind, intellect. So if you and I are regular in proper upkeep of the body's intelligence will express itself. If you and I are regular, even 20 to 30 minutes on a daily average of certain prayer and meditation, it's going to do something. Spiritual intelligence is within us. It only has to be allowed to express. And so with the intellect, Sharira, Mana, Buddhi, body, mind, intellect. So with intellect, a regular study, just 20 to 30 minutes of spiritually elevating literature. As we get going, there a certain refinement will take place. We may all begin with the motivational literature, but very soon we will be graduating to such literature which in fact reduces our ego. Where ego reduces, spiritual intelligence comes up. So these three, to sum up, are exercise, meditation, and study. Exercise, meditation, and study. That's how SQ can be enhanced.
There's another question to you, Swamiji. That is, how can one balance the requirement?
Balance
what? Sorry, there's a question from Sharda ji. How to measure SQ?
Yeah. In fact, I have in my lecture also said, measuring SQ is a challenge. That is why one expert called Gardner said, leave out that SQ, it's difficult to measure and all that. However, the answer that I would think of is, it is in terms of certain equality that we feel towards all. If you and I, if we feel equal towards rich and poor, well-placed and underprivileged people, if we feel the same kind of love for a wide spectrum of people, where race or color of the skin, height, or all these things take backseat, this samatva is the mark of enhanced spirituality. That's how we can measure.
Another question from the webinar. My question is that how can one balance one's mind as is said in the Bhagavad Gita, that mind is very uncomfortable creature and it takes man where it wants to. It's from Gujarat, one
Yeah, the same chapter in the Gita, which talks about mind being extremely hard to control, has the answer also. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha gೃಹ್ಯತೆ. So one is simple practices and another is vairagya. That is, by re-examining whatever we are doing, certain distance, certain detachment arises. When our detachment increases, the control of the mind spontaneously takes place.
Now, the next question is, Swamiji, does improving the SQ automatically improve the EQ of an individual? Does improving the SQ automatically improve the EQ of an individual?
To an extent, not fully, because EQ is a different discipline by itself. So,
Shankar, can you mute all the other participants, please? I'm getting some noise from somebody.
yeah, I think many people are keeping microphone. So there is some noise. Only those who are asking may please turn it off.
Captain, sir, you unmute
Okay.
yourself, sir.
So when SQ increases, to a certain extent, EQ will increase. But you know, EQ is of many kinds. So EQ as applicable to certain contexts may not improve at all. But if someone has high SQ and lot of common sense, he'll avoid those domains. Those domains where a particular kind of EQ may be required. You know, sometimes you and I are happy in life when we know what to touch and what not to touch. So EQ has many dimensions, and some dimensions may not, improve by rise of SQ.
There's another interesting question, Swamiji. He wants to know, is one of our members, how would the talk relevant to the people these days when the COVID times I'm unable to relax, what to do?
No, in my lecture on and off, I have mentioned that everything I have spoken has a relation to COVID-19, because whether it is emotional intelligence or spiritual intelligence, they help us see a better possibility. In the absence of higher EQ and higher SQ, we settle for something, a kind of a compromise. We have a narrow angle of view. So the enhancement of intelligence, no matter where we are positioned, gives to us more options. Then you work out in your own particular case.
There's a
So
question,
it's
interesting
highly
question, Swamiji. Why should I learn the lessons of life? Why not let the life itself teach them to me?
Yeah. You know, in a sense, you are right. Actually, you learn the best when you allow life to teach you. So your question is, why should I learn? If we put in some kind of effort with some agitation about it, I'm afraid learning doesn't take place. It is rightly said that the student who listens silently with no noise in his head, he listens silently, grasps maximum. So likewise, you have said it very well, whoever has asked the question, with no agitation about learning, but being open to life, to teach us. So being receptive, that is when highest learning takes place. Agreed?
There is also a question from one of the MMA member. How do I neutralize a stressful situation in a professional environment?
Stressful situation in a?
Professional environment of the demands of the professional environment today.
What environment? I didn't hear that adjective.
The professional environment today.
Oh, professional, yes, professional environment.
Yes.
Stressful situation, right. You know, everything is a science. And all this literature about leadership, about relationships, gives to us tips. Therefore, one has to study a little bit, and then you will know that in my situation, this is so true. One example is a consultative quality. When a leader doesn't consult anybody, shuts his door and thinks of on his own, that is a way to disaster. When he consults, when he gets opinion of key people, then there again, not to consult wrong people. In one's eagerness to consult, you allow somebody to come and waste your time and give all wrong advice. Therefore, to consult right people, to avoid wrong advisors, and then to do what has been decided. You come upon, okay, this is the right thing to do, and don't waste time in implementing. There are such tips. Now, when you go for this literature, you will find how to handle stress. 100 tips given. Quickly go through them and make a selection. Don't get lost in the books. Don't get lost in your study. Make a selection. This appeals to me. And you go ahead. Therefore, relationships and diffusing stressful situations are very closely related.
Yes, another question, Swamiji, from Sachs, everyone. Some daily tips to maintain our SQ in balance. Does the meditation on daily rituals increase the SQ level?
You know, meditation is a word which has 1,000 meanings. In fact, Osho, formerly called Rajneesh, had made a statement. There are as many forms of meditation as there are meditators. So when you use the word, does meditation help? There's a problem with that question. Which kind of meditation? And are you doing it rightly? Therefore, I would be rather cautious on this. You need to actually, I wouldn't use the word guru, but you need to check out with some knowledgeable people, check out with a couple of friends who also are trying out. For, let me explain this one point. There are some forms of meditation which make you more and more dull, more and more enclosed in a shell of your own. That would not take you anywhere. True meditation should help you open up, to reach out and look around. True meditation frees you from complexes, not to push you deeper into it. So check out what meditation you are doing.
There is also a gentleman asked the question, is a spiritual vision alone enough to solve every problems? Because the spiritualism is taken so much the impact on the society today. That's why the question is relevant, Swamiji.
Again, like I said about meditation, when we take the word spirituality in a narrow sense, the answer to this question is an emphatic no. If spirituality means just some japa or puja, visiting holy places, wearing some special dress, etc., that definitely cannot solve the problems of our society. But true spirituality is much more, way beyond these outer signs. And I would conclude my answer to this particular question saying, in true spirituality, there is a certain enhanced awareness and sensitivity, and therefore action on other levels automatically is facilitated. A truly spiritual person will be open to any number of changes on his lifestyle, on his financial side, on his relationship side, etc. Therefore, true spirituality can solve all problems of humanity, but hardly anybody can embrace that true spirituality. Generally, all of us in the name of spirituality are holding on to one dimension of it. Therefore, we need to double check and look around.
Awesome, Swamiji. Now, one last question before I open to some of the people who want to have a interaction. How can we harness the great potential that lies within us? some tips to the people. So many people, I think this time when you're locked down, a lot of your potential will come to know. You also know where you stand. I know many of you have reached technically become sound. So what should be some tips for harness your potential with it?
Right. You know, I have studied this, and my own understanding is the panacea, the ultimate medicine for the human ailment is awareness. We need to enhance our awareness, outer awareness, inner awareness. We cannot remain in some kind of closed mindset. So what is it that can tap our potential is the question. Being open, being aware, listening. As much as you speak, please listen also. As much as you think that others should learn from you, be ready to learn from them. As much as you want to express yourself, learn the art of silence too. In this way, in receptivity, in being open, and in remaining silent here and there, the potential within you can be tapped. You will find that an inner growth is taking place. To give a specific example, somebody criticizes, generally we burn with anger. Who is he to talk about me like that? What business does he have to say this about me, and so on. Instead, though it is unpleasant, if we can gently hold that criticism in us and reflect on it, bear with it, then we can tap our potential for spiritual growth.
Excellent, madam. Now, there's one of the participants, Dr. Chokalingam, is
Yeah.
cardiologist.
He began.
Dr. Chokalingam. Yes, doctor, I want to be very, very brief.
I really appreciate for the excellent. What I want to suggest now, your talk at present, people instead of dying because of COVID, because of depression and worriness, and they even commit suicide. I think you have given the answer for them to how to survive this COVID. My only thing is, one of my patients asked me, he's a very intelligent fellow, very rich one. Whenever he goes to sleep, just before sleeping, his mind tells only whatever negative things from childhood, it only pop up in his mind. How to get rid of that feeling from that patient? He says, I'm not able to resist, but we get the feeling of something, whatever the negative one, if he gets it, he goes to sleep. But it's a good thing for him. He says how to come out from that. He's asking me.
Thank you,
how
doctor.
To help him.
Thank you, doctor. His question is how to come out of the negativity thoughts in your mind, especially when you go to sleep.
How are we going to help him, Swamiji?
He has to try several things, but one of the higher methods, let me share with you a higher approach. There are a lot of small, lower approaches. The higher approach is not to fight with those negative thoughts. Don't fight with them. Let them come, nor embrace them. The corona situation, we are anyhow told not even to shake hands, leave alone embrace. So you tell your patient, neither embrace those negative thoughts, nor shake hands with that negative thought. You look at those negative thoughts, but don't fight with them also. When you look at them and, stay in that watchfulness, they will die a natural death. Have patience, do this night after night, they will stop. Whereas presently, my guess is this fellow is fighting with them.
But he says with that sense of thinking, he sleeps up nicely. He says it makes him to sleep also nicely.
Oh, very interesting, but it's not very healthy. I think.
Another thing I want to ask you, Swamiji.
Doctor, sir, we have crossed the time.
One small comment, Captain. I really appreciate. I know you. What I want to know, Swamiji, do you believe life after rebirth or after death? Is there any life in that?
I'll answer in a single sentence. Your question was, do you believe? My answer is, I do believe. Full stop.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Swamiji.
the way you thought about EQ and SQ, many of us, as I mentioned, we are not very familiar with SQ. Now we are quite familiar with what is SQ. The tips which are given will be extremely useful to our members and participants. May I request all participants to join me, giving a big applaud. Let's type awesome or great, whatever signs you have, so that we convey our gratitude to Swamiji who are taking time. And if you are there on video, just say hi to them. And thank you so much. It's been a fascinating evening, Swamiji. Have a great evening, and we look forward to interacting with you when you visit next time. Chennai, whenever it's going to happen very soon, we would like to host you so that a large number of participants can participate and take the minute out of your deliberation. Thank you so much, and thank you all the viewers who are watching this program live on Zoom as well as webinar, YouTube, and Facebook. Thank you. You have been asking a number of questions, but we are always time bound. We want to close it at 7:15. We already overshot by about 5 minutes. Notwithstanding, it's a fascinating evening, and we all become more wiser in terms of what should be our IQ and SQ. The term which we actually hear, we don't practice it. I'm quite sure each one of you will practice it and become more human, more responsible citizen. Thank you, Swamiji, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you so much, and good night.
Thank you, MMA. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Namaskaram,
Thank you.
Swamiji.
Thank you. Namaskara, Swami.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Excellent program.
I think
Shankar? Okay. The meeting is come to an end, Shankar.
So I will end meeting.
Yeah, end meeting. Yeah.
Yes, sir.